Do. Welcome to episode 12 of the RAGAMUFFIN Music Podcast. I'm Alex.
I'm James.
And I'm Dan.
And this is a place for us to talk about the music we love. Every month we get together, talk about the latest news and alternative music, share our thoughts on the newest releases, and discuss a few different topics in the world of heavy music.
Today we'll be reviewing the brand new singles from metal icons Slipknot and Korn, as well as reviewing the new Boston Manor EP and the 8th album from the staples of the deathcore scene, Whitechapel.
And later on we'll be discussing what it's like to be going back to live music.
But first, the news. The Astroworld tragedy. A fatal stampede occurred at Travis Scott's Astroworld Festival, leading to the loss of 10 lives and multiple injuries. Earlier on in the day of the festival, videos showed countless fans storming through entrances and past security points. It's believed that the number of people in attendance was well over the intended capacity. A concert insurance expert spoke to Rolling Stone, I believe, and said that he believes the organisers of Astroworld just weren't prepared for the kind of crowd they were going to get. Travis Scott, Live Nation and other parties involved are now the subject of hundreds of lawsuits totalling over $3 billion. Just an absolute tragedy.
And there's a main point in that there. It's not really Travis Scott's fault. It's the brunt of the blame needs to be on the organisers, whether it's the security company, the promoters. As you said, it was likely overcrowded and overcapacity, which is out of Travis Scott's control. There's been a lot of blame placed on him, but really it's on the promoter company and security and the companies involved in putting the event on, not necessarily on the artist.
Yeah. Brass against Pissgate. At a Florida festival, Welcome to Rockville, Brass against... I can't say the band name. Brass against vocalist Sophia Arista invited a fan on stage and then proceeded to piss on him. If you're that way inclined, you can find a video of it on Twitter, but it is grim. The band released a statement after the show saying, quote, "Sophia got carried away. That's not something the rest of us expected, and it's not something you'll see at our shows. Due to laws in Florida, a police report has been issued for indecent exposure." Exposure. I can't speak today.
It's not going well, is it?
A police report has been issued for indecent exposure.
Just a bit grim, really, isn't it?
I mean, the good thing from the story is it is consensual.
Yes.
It wasn't an unprovoked piss. But it's a bit odd, isn't it?
The guy seemed to love it, though.
I'll never understand that.
A great time.
No.
Each to their own.
Yep. Metallica have a big black box. As the festivities continue in celebration of the Black Album's anniversary, Metallica have announced the Black Box. It will, quote, "provide access to memories and experiences of the band members themselves, and it transports those who entered to virtually every imaginable time and place along the Metallica historical continuum." So all the descriptions are a bit vague of what it actually is, but come opening day we'll see what it really is like. But something for die-hard Metallica fans to keep an eye on. Korn's Fieldy continues to take time off from the band as he figures out what he wants to do with his life, as said by guitarist Monkey in a recent interview. I think I speak for all of us saying that as fans of Korn, we support whatever decision he eventually makes, whether it's returning to the band or not.
Yeah, he's an iconic part of them, and I think will always be a massive part of their history, but the most important thing is that he's in his right kind of place for him.
James, what did you recommend last time?
So I recommended the album Iowa by Slipknot. What do you think?
Well, obviously all three of us have heard this album before, but it's always nice to have an excuse to revisit it. Some of my favourite Slipknot songs on this one, such as People Equal Shit, Disaster Piece and Heretic Anthem. Actually, going back and listening to this era of Slipknot, you can see the inspiration to bands of today. Like, we've got into Blood Youth a lot recently, and their music sounds so similar to some of the stuff off this album. That's it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you can hear actually a lot of this album on Blood Youth and loads of other bands. I think the thing that stood out to me is like the first half of this album is what a lot of people talk about, but actually I think the second half is just as good, especially getting into the run of The Shape, I Am Hated and Skin Ticket. Those are actually three of my favourite Slipknot songs. And then, like you told us to, listening to Iowa, like uninterrupted and without any distractions, is rough.
It's a journey.
Yeah, but I don't know, you feel like a sense of catharsis, like when you're done, like with the whole album and with that song, like going through it.
It's like a cleansing almost.
Yeah.
At the end.
So, great album. Dan, what did you recommend?
I recommended Are We All the Same Distance Apart by Crooks. What do you guys think?
I thought this was great. Just a banger of an album. The thing that I took away from it, the first one was the range of the singer's voice. Like, he was powerful when he needed to be, but then he was like soft and vulnerable, like when the time was right for it. I didn't look at the track list as I listened, I just let it play. And the thing that I felt is like there were loads of like peaks and troughs in it, like goes on a really well balanced like flow of a journey throughout the whole album. So it passed really quickly. Like listening to it was so easy. So yeah, I'll probably revisit it and try and pick out a few more songs next time. But yeah,
Perfect.
Yeah, I really enjoy like the punky feel to it, especially right from the start with Above Me and then the title track. And there's also such a variety in songs throughout the whole album. Like with Above Me being more up tempo, and then maybe in Windy Little Town, like a bit more of a chilled and mellow sound, and it kept it quite fresh going throughout the whole thing. And again, it's quite an easy listen, like you've done from start to finish. You can flow through it really well. I think some of my favourites were Are We All the Same Distance Apart and Harmony Falls, because that like faster like pop punk pace kind of appeals much more.
That's like the two extremes of the album.
It is, yeah. And like they've got moments where the song will have like the fast pace, and then it'll also like pull back. And I think that really just shows the variety of what they can do as well, and just a good representation of the album in those songs in itself. And yeah, just a really, really good listen. So
Recently, listening back to them, I felt like obviously Crooks aren't a band anymore, but I feel like Holding Absence Today are the band that Crooks probably could have been.
yeah, I can see that actually. Yeah, no, I very much can. You can see similarities between the two. And I think like in terms of accessibility of music, I think they would do well in like the scene nowadays, I think, as well. And then Alex, what was it you recommended?
I recommended I Loved You at Your Darkest by Behemoth. I am fully prepared for neither of you to like it.
I mean, I'll start with the positives that I've got. I can really appreciate a lot of the drumming. Lovely fills, nice cymbal work. I can always appreciate blast beats, but then when it gets onto blast beats getting draining after song after song after song, it's a little bit harder to listen to. Some of the guitar tones really, really nice, and some really good instrumental sections, but that's kind of where it kind of peaks off for me, because black metal will never be anything I thoroughly enjoy. There's just not enough variety in the instrumentals, and the vocal style won't ever appeal properly. And I did give it the good old college try.
It's all I can ask for.
Yeah, I think that's all you knew you were going to get from me as well from that. But it was okay for what it was. But it will never be something I will probably revisit.
Well, I didn't dislike it. The intro track, Solve, was pretty cool. It kind of built up, but then I didn't find it as interesting from then on. It feels like to me it's an album of moments. Rather than particular songs being very good, they were just kind of moments, whether it's a blast beat or a certain guitar tone or a riff or a certain vocal part or lyric. There's just moments dotted around the album that were good, but nothing really came together for me. If I had to pick one song to highlight, it would probably be Crucifixion Wasn't Enough. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yes, big tune.
And yeah, I'll put it this way, I enjoyed it more than Dream Theater.
Oh, that's a victory in my eyes. Wow. I kind of knew what I was getting myself into recommending it, because it's a difficult genre. Like, I would think of all the subgenres of metal, like it's the most extreme and inaccessible.
Quite
probably.
divisive.
Yeah. So
That's what this is about, though. We want to try new things.
Push the
Broaden
boundaries.
our horizons.
Yeah.
happy days. Let's talk about the latest releases then. Let's start with 27 Club by Trophy Eyes. It was cool to hear like a bit of edge back in this band, because the sort of progression that they've taken from the first EP to where they were with the latest album is like, it's gotten softer, but not in a bad way. It's gotten like really catchy and really fun to listen to. But I still love like the first EP and like parts of the first album where he's like screaming really strong. So.
I agree with you. I'd heard this song before you had, and then I played it for you. And the first thing you asked before I played it was, "Does he scream?"
Yeah,
and he kind of does.
Yeah. Mm. I heard it in like a little teaser they put online, and I was like, "Oh, I'm excited."
I want to just go on that. You said catchy as well, and I think I found the chorus really catchy, and like the chanting. I think that's something that very much gave me Bring Me the Horizon vibes for that. Like that's the spirit. You're gonna have that translating really, really well live, I think, and I think that stands out as a great track for this. And then just like musically, guitar tones, I thought those were very, very nice. But the only thing that kind of left me back a little bit was there felt like there was a lack of bass in the mix.
Yeah.
Or like it had been EQ'd to take out a lot of the low end in the song. So very much more trebly. But overall, I thought it was a very good song. And I haven't really listened to them much, so I couldn't really compare it to anything.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can.
What? Within their own...
Within Trophy Eyes, I've not had a lot of exposure to them.
Each of their albums is really different, I'd say.
Yeah.
Which takes me to one of my points about this song. This song, I feel like, captures like the broadness of Trophy Eyes. There's like a little bit from each album on this one.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is quite a good song for you to get into them, really.
Yeah, because you can go from this and then find what parts of Trophy Eyes, like back catalogue, that you like.
Good taster for all of their discography.
I think to circle back to what you said about the chanting as well, I think that will translate really well live, because when you look at the lyrics of this song, it's obviously a very heavy subject. Especially, I pointed out the lines, put me in the ground, sell my things and snuff me out, just like I was never here, I wish I was never here. Like, when you take that in for what it is, it's like, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you get to like the chanting section, I imagine live, people in the crowd will be able to let it all out into like that part.
I think, like James said about the chorus as well, it must be laced with something, because it's the melody in it is so addictive.
Mm-hmm.
But to round up, Trophy Eyes are back and they're writing songs about death again. It's great.
And also they sell wine now, so
Oh,
get a bottle of Trophy Eyes wine maybe.
maybe we do a wine review.
Link in the description.
Ahead of their 6th album, Obsidian, coming soon, North Lane dropped Echo Chamber. And I'm really sorry, but I thought it was boring.
Touche.
I think it just felt like it was one gear throughout, and it never takes it to that next level. Do you know what I mean? I feel like there's potential for it to go there, but it never...
It feels a bit Yumi at 60 at the start, I think, which is very whelming. But I actually disagree with you. I feel like towards kind of the second half, like, it kind of starts to hit a bit more, and I don't think it would do if the first half wasn't as boring. And then the way that it slows down for the breakdown at the end is just so satisfying to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to side with you, Alex. Like, it felt very much to me like a plateau, and there wasn't a lot of development throughout the song. I agree with the second half being better. I think it does build more. The breakdown is a bit better. The riffs that come through are nicer. And I think one of the highlights for me in particular was the vocals. But instrumentally, it didn't get me at all. I've never always been a fan of like electronics and metal. And I think I surprised both of you when I was like, I like Die For You by Bring Me, because not usually one that's probably in my wheelhouse. But I think for me in particular, electronics and metal has to be done in the right way. And I think this was done in the wrong way.
I felt like they did it really well with Clockwork.
Yeah.
Which for me was like one of my... Did it come out this year? If it came out this year, it was one of my favourite songs of the year. But I can't actually remember. But I don't know, I just felt like this one... I don't know. At the start of it, I felt like I just walked into Cyberdog. Which is a niche reference,
yeah.
but if you know, you know.
But I do like the second half. I think the breakdown was a nice change in the sound. But for me, I think it was too far gone in order to try and like pull me back in. And it just seemed a bit repetitive and disappointing, because other North Lane, like you said about Clockwork in particular, was a lot more enjoyable to listen to.
It sounds like you guys were listening to it waiting for it to finish, whereas I was listening to it waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, I think maybe that's...
So
that's
maybe
the
I
difference.
enjoyed the bit that happened, and you guys were like, well, thank God that's done.
I think when it came through and I was like, okay, better. But like I said, I think it got to that point where I'd listened to so much of the song and like bugger all had happened. And I was like, well, it's losing me here.
Static Dress released Sober Exits. What do we think of this one?
So for me, this is my first exposure. I know you two have talked about them a lot, and I have not listened to them yet. So I was excited to delve into it when I saw that it was released, and I really enjoyed it. In particular, I want to note on the like production, the panning on the guitars was absolutely lovely. I love hearing that kind of stuff in the production for it. And then with the guitars, the riffs in the distance was like chef's kiss, gorgeous. And then just musically, I think it was really, really fun. Drums were nice with the rim taps on the snare scattered throughout, and dynamically it kind of went like flowed very nicely and had like waves where it like really build and crescendo and then kind of drop back in. So I really, really enjoyed it.
I think it's the guitar tone on this for me that really makes it stand out. I love what Static Dress are doing. They already have like a really recognisable sound. It kind of feels like a modernisation of early 2000s emo.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, there's something about them that's nostalgic. Like, as soon as you listen, you think of like the MySpace emo era.
What time?
And I think that's also carried a lot by like what Ollie does vocally, like the way he really like seamlessly goes from from singing to screaming.
It was very versatile, and I found that vocal performance. And again, not hearing them before, it was really welcoming. It just caught my attention immediately that he just flowed back and forth between the different styles. Really, really well done.
Slipknot are back with the Chapeltown Rag. James, you can go first.
I think I always get a bit nervous whenever there is a Slipknot release, just because I want it to be good. And like, I love how they teased it beforehand with the snippets. And if you don't follow us on Instagram, you've seen that we posted the snippets up there. So I think that's an excuse to go and follow the Instagram just for breaking news and stuff on there.
Specifically, you posted the snippets
So
up there.
I was in the middle of the cinema with a couple of friends, and I was like, hold up, I need to post about this. This is important shit.
Was that the first thing you've posted to our Instagram?
Possibly. I've done stories.
Slacking.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I love the build. The highlight for me is going to be the drumming. Jay absolutely fucking kills it. The blast beats in the pre-chorus are tremendous. The custom percussion, I think, throughout is really turned up in the mix, and it really gives it that full Slipknot sound. And I think altogether with like Corey's vocals, he proves how good he is, how much versatility still has, and that he still has that really raw Iowa sound, which it's just perfect for me.
For me, it's nothing too special from Slipknot standards. It's just a solid song, kind of just what you'd expect from them, really. The highlight for me is the bit when it starts to slow down just before the end, and it has you feeling like, oh, what's coming? But in reality, you know exactly what's coming.
Yeah, I think you said about Corey proving that he's still got that versatility. I felt like the whole song was the whole band proving that they're still like energetic and angry enough to be the same band that they were when they started. It's not the best chorus that I think they've done. I think that's what maybe makes the song feel a bit.
It feels a bit like a Stone Sour chorus, I think.
That's exactly what I said.
For me, I felt the whole song in particular was a bit of a scattering throughout all their history, but I was getting Grey Chapter vibes from the chorus.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know. I think the end breakdown, like Dan said, is just like this crushing, overwhelming thing. And I think that plus like the overall grit of the song sort of keeps me interested where the chorus sort of failed, I guess.
Because I felt like, for me in particular, with 2021 bringing like so many great new albums, like you got Spirit Box, Sleep Token, Dying Wish, all kind of like new fresh bands, this to me felt like them still saying like, we're here, we ain't going anywhere. And like with the new album coming out supposedly in first quarter next year, sometime between January to March, I'm expecting good things. I'm happy with this release.
Corner back with a new song, Start the Healing. And this has a great big fat chorus.
It's huge, isn't it?
Just groovy and catchy all the way through, and then that hook hooks you in. That's the whole point. Great.
It's quite an easy listen, I think, compared to a lot of Korn stuff. Mainly because of that chorus. It's just catchy straight away, and anyone can get into it, I think.
I felt like it was a really nice call and response of Jonathan Davis's vocals going between like the sung and the screams as well. And it does show off his versatility. I think he's an underrated, harsh vocalist. People, I think, sleep on him still a little bit because he doesn't expose it as much as he used to. But then this showed he's still got it there. And then, for me, the drumming. Ray is an incredible drummer. The bridge was gorgeous, and I think he just gets more experimental behind the kit as it goes on, and it builds into this like beautiful crescendo before the last big chorus. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I never really know what to expect from a Korn single because I've been let down before.
Yeah, and also they've tried a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
They went through that dubstep sort of era. Yeah. But yeah, I think the thing about Korn is like there's always a feeling of like less is more, and the emphasis is always on the groove and like the feel, and leaving a lot of space for Jonathan's vocals, which is what is on display in this song, and it bloody works. So
New album in February, Requiem.
I'm excited. Code Orange are out for blood. Because their new song's called Out for Blood. I've seen a lot of criticism online for this song. People calling it radio rock or being soft or like whatever. But I disagree. What do you guys think, though?
Yeah, I think it's really cool. They've tried out lots of different sounds here. There's some new metal going on, industrial stuff, a bit of techno and drum and bass in the beat at times, and the main riff in it is still a rock riff. It's still metal.
So I love the drumming. The 16th note hi-hat beat was pleasant. You don't really hear that in metal often, and the bass drum was so prominent on like 1 and 3 of every bar that it really just drove the song forward and it had like a good stamp to it. Vocals, really strong performance and right at the front. I felt the guitar solo was out of place. It didn't really fit with the flow of the song for me.
Oh, no, I liked it.
I thought it's a great guitar solo, but it didn't fit, I think, in terms of the structure and the feel of the song. To me, it felt slightly jarring in the style, but it was a lovely solo. I can appreciate it.
I think Code Orange's style though is jarring. I think they're deliberately difficult to listen to, in a way.
Yeah, I think their whole thing, like their sort of, I don't know, the sort of nickname they've given themselves is like thinners of the herd. And I think that's like evident in the fact that sometimes like Dan said, their music is difficult because they want to weed out the people that I guess aren't cut for being a fan, if you know what I mean. But I don't know, I feel like that's, yeah, I think the things that I've always liked about this band are present in this song, but then you add the new dynamic of Jamie singing, because normally it's just Reba doing the cleans. But I think it just is going to expose Code Orange to a new range of fans. I think this, combined with the fact that they've just done a run with Slipknot on the Knotfest Roadshow, is only going to help. And also, if you want the old like hardcore Code Orange, just go listen to the albums. Like, rather than complaining that they're not doing it anymore. I don't know. That's just me.
I always find it funny when people say that about any band. It's like, it's still there. You can still go and listen to it. They're still going to play the songs.
Amity Affliction released Give Up the Ghost. What do we think of this?
The Amity Affliction know how to make a catchy chorus, don't they? The second verse as well just seems to go harder than the first one, even though it's really similar. I think there's some subtle differences that just make it seem so much bigger. I don't know what else to say, really. It's just exactly what you'd expect from the Amity Affliction.
I found like in the verses in particular, the lead guitar melodies really stood out strong and quite nice. The pre-chorus had some really nice little drum fills to transition into like these big, like you said, the big chorus. These big metalcore choruses, like there's a set formula, and it's hard to, I guess, fuck it up slightly. But then also, I think it's harder to absolutely nail it, and they do nail it.
Everyone has like a band that was like a comfort band for them, like during like their teenage years or whatever. And the Amity Affliction was mine. So like hearing them back being like energetic, like the albums that I first got into them on, just makes me happy. So yeah. And I think, yeah, like you said, anyone can, like a lot of metalcore bands try to do what they're doing with this chorus, but it's actually difficult to craft something that is that good.
Yeah. And I think like the whole track was solid from start to finish. It was energetic, like you said in that, and breakdown I think in particular was very nice. Like having it in 7/8 was nice and groovy, a little bit different. Yeah, really, really good song.
Boston Manor released the EP Desperate Times, Desperate Pleasures. I think the thing coming out of the pandemic that's been fortunate is that bands like this that maybe wouldn't have had the time to write have given us new music, and having Algorithm and Carbon Mono as 2 new bangers for a set list justifies this whole EP for me. What do you guys think?
I think even though there were the tracks released beforehand, they were still the standout 2. I think with this and then Desperate Pleasures in the middle, I think like that was a really nice middle 3 combination of songs. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the whole listen, to be honest, and I think it's an easy EP to listen from start to finish. I thought Let the Right One In was a nice opener and like more chill back and mellow, and then you hear like the heavier side on Carbon Mono slightly. And I think like when we did our review before, it was kind of my first proper exposure into listening to them more. And this has genuinely become an EP that I've just gone back and listened to from start to finish multiple times since it's been released. So as an overall kind of release, I really, really did enjoy it.
It feels like kind of aesthetically in terms of like the sound, they've kind of taken what they did on the previous album Glue and just pushed it that little bit further. At times, I liked it more than others. I wasn't that keen on Algorithm, but the latest songs, I Don't Like People, was great, and I absolutely love Let the Right One In. I think it sounds massive.
See, I was like the opposite. I felt like those two that you just said, Let the Right One In and I Don't Like People. I don't know what it is about Boston Manor, but there's always like one or two songs on a release that I can't put my finger on it like musically, but just the vibe is wrong for me. And I think opening with the song that they didn't get me excited. I think it just sort of went on like it should have been half the length that it was. But I don't know, or that's just me. Whitechapel released their 8th album, Kin, and wow. I don't know what I expected from this album, but it wasn't this.
No.
And that's in like the most pleasantly surprised way that I could be. Phil Bozeman, I think, is the MVP. Like, screams and cleans. We've said it before. His ability to get through like a shit ton of words in a very short space of time and actually still sound clear.
It's a skill.
It's so impressive. What do you guys think?
Well, I've never listened to a Whitechapel album from start to finish before. And you saw like me listening to it for the first time when I did. And from what I've heard from them before, it's been like scattered throughout, so I couldn't pinpoint it and say if it's ever happened before. But what really shocked me was just how melodic it was throughout. And like, they're known as a staple of deathcore. You listen to songs like Swords of the Law and it's just absolute assault constantly. But then hearing stuff like just the intro song, for example, I Will Find You, and it like lulls you into a false sense of security before bursting in with just that classic energy. And then I never thought I'd say the words Whitechapel and ballad in like the same sentence. But what stood out to me is I think my favourite track on the album was History is Silent. And I think it's a really beautiful song in a heavy metal-y kind of way with it. I just fell in love with this track, and it's been one in particular I've just gone back and listened to. And I think that is the key point for me, is melodically, it surprised the hell out of me, and I bloody love it.
Yeah, it surprised me as well. I mean, firstly, is there a better opening line for a metal album than The Devil is Dead?
Amazing.
Like James said, most people associate Whitechapel with being really fucking heavy. That's still apparent on this album in songs like Blood-Soaked Symphony, which is just chuggy and badass. But there's atmosphere and emotion created by songs, by like lighter songs, that make this album stand out more, I think. The intros to pretty much every song are clearly thought out and create a big atmosphere or build tension. The song Anti-Cure is a really good example for this. And like Alex said, the screams are so clear and coherent enough that you can make out every word that's said, and they duel brilliantly with the clean vocals as well. The contrast between them is being used really well to portray like the change of mood within a song. It's utilised most effectively on History is Silent, which is one of my favourite songs on the album. I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did, and I've revisited it again and again since doing the review as well.
Exactly the same. And like you said about the intros, the ones that made us, I think, is phenomenal. Like the tom work in particular is great. The siren effect. I think they're just incorporating just more variety into it. And again, like we said, 8 albums in, this to me, and I'll stress again that I haven't had a lot of exposure to them, still feels a bit like a reinvention slightly. And almost like, again, making the point that we're still here. We've got this amazing catalogue behind us, and we play big festivals, we're a big band now, but they can still do something new and still capture a new audience. And I think that is what they've done with us in particular here.
I think also as well, like, so many other deathcore bands will just trudge out the same shit over and over again. And I don't know if this is their first album with clean vocals, but for them to put themselves out like that, because it's a risk, because I can imagine that there will be fans that maybe feel alienated by this album because of the cleans, but for us it was like a sit-up, like jolt moment for the first time, that watching you 100%. Listen to it for the first time.
Yeah.
And like Dan said, the way that he goes between the screams and the cleans just helps to convey the different emotions throughout. I was surprised at how like personal this felt.
Yeah.
And how you hear like sort of a romantic and like a sense of love, but also like a really sinister undertone at the same time.
Emotion.
I think that's like on display most. Just in a Blood-Soaked Symphony, just the line "Come back to me." The delivery of it is like, do I trust you or do I not trust you? Like, it sounds like he's appealing to like a loved one, but also that he's like the devil. So
Like a battle in it in
Yeah.
itself.
so I was just blown away, and yeah, going back to it so many times as well.
Yeah. And this will be one that I'll 100% be revisiting. And then I think not too long ago they were meant to play Oxford, and I was not interested. If they then come back and they're playing, I now have interest. They're now like, I'd have to delve into more of the catalogue and listen to them, but just on the back of this album, my interest is definitely peaked.
It's the versatility, I think, that sold me on this one. Because, like I said, you kind of perceive Whitechapel as just being a heavy metal band, whereas this has kind of
So much
shown
more.
that they're capable of so many different things and creating like an atmosphere, and I loved it.
Idles released a new album, Crawler. I think first of all, Dan, going from Ultra Mono to this felt like a really brave step, because they could have easily retread those steps because people loved Ultra Mono so much. And I think, you know, bands have to take these leaps when they're at that peak to move forward. But that being said, this feels like just one step on the evolution rather than a full-blown transformation.
Yeah, you used the word leap. I don't think they've done a little hop
Yeah.
to me. They've not really leapt and grabbed it with both hands. There are some songs in here that are quite a departure away from the Idols that we've come to know. The first single, The Beachland Ballroom, is emotional and soulful with a great vocal performance from Joe, which, although very different, is still kind of very Idols. The same can be said about the second single, Car Crash, which has more of a spoken word hip-hop style, which I wasn't sure about at first, but now I think it's a brilliant song. Now I've listened to it a few more times. That said, there's still some tracks which are a bit more like the old punky Idols. I liked the end. The Wheel is really fun. The New Sensation's a bit tongue-in-cheek, much like Mr. Motivator off of Ultra Mono. But it feels like there's some other songs like Meds and King Snake that are just there to appeal to the fans that might be disapproving of this stylistic change.
Yeah, almost a bit like by the numbers, just to,
Yeah,
just-
it's a bit like, we want to do this bit, but we're going to leave this here just to keep you happy.
Yeah. I felt exactly the same. There were songs on it that were really fun, like The New Sensation was fun, Wiz just being a 30-second like rager. I think that's cool. Apparently Joe turned texts from his old dealer into the lyrics for that song. But I don't know, some of the new stuff just I felt disjointed from it. The Beachland Ballroom I loved and has been one of my favourite songs of the year, but I think that might be maybe one of the only songs that I ever maybe go back to from this album.
I mean, I had to listen to this album over and over again, not necessarily because I enjoyed it, but because I just couldn't figure out whether I liked it or not.
Yeah.
And I think I concluded that it's a good album, but there's songs on it that just feel so much weaker and overshadowed by the others. Like I said, some of the newer ones, like the newer kind of sound, are great, but then the others, the kind of more punky, old school ones, just feel a bit like they've just been chucked in there because they had to.
And I think also it suffers from the fact that their first three albums are so easy, like especially Joy as an Act of Resistance, one of the easiest albums I've ever listened to.
I mean, Idols have always kind of been angry and directed that like outwards. Like there's songs about society and governments and things like that, whereas this is more looking inwards.
Yeah.
Which is good. It's good to have like that different kind of perspective.
Yeah.
But I just much prefer
It feels like
the older bits.
It's definitely a step in the right direction.
I can see what they're trying.
Yeah.
They just need to commit more to it, I think.
Yeah. I worry...
All or nothing, basically.
Do you think maybe an issue was the fact that, not that they rushed it, but it was so soon after Ultra Mono that maybe they didn't take the time?
I was surprised that when they announced the album, I thought, well, Ultra Mono was only like 12 months ago, maybe less.
So
yeah,
maybe it was a bit too reactionary to Ultra Mono, but I don't know.
They've said, I've seen some interviews where they've said that Ultra Mono, they wanted that to be like killing off the old Idols, and they wanted that to be the stepping stone to the new one, but it feels more like this is
A stepping
doing
stone
that
to something else, yeah. Looking to December, we have some releases coming up. Of Mice and Men will release Echo, the album, and also Ad Infinitum, the last of the EP trilogy. Volbeat will release Servant of the Mind, and Devon Townsend will release The Puzzle/Snuggles, all of those of which December 3rd.
I'm excited for Of Mice and Men.
I too am excited for Of Mice and Men.
And I think it's going to be a quiet month. Gig talk time.
So you guys went off to Southampton. Who was it you went and saw?
We saw Trash Boat, with support from Death Blooms, Calva Louise and Strange Bones.
How was the show?
Very fun. The Loft is a great venue, and it feels very intimate, and it's just crazy to think that we've seen Trash Boat 3 times this year. Not even this year, it was in the span of like 3 months.
So yeah, we've only been going to gigs since September, and we've already seen them 3 times.
But they were great. I think it made me take back some of the things I said about the album, because the new songs live. But maybe that's the case with every album, that things sound better live, but it was so much fun.
How did this then, seen in the 3rd time in like this such short space of time, compare to the previous 2?
Well, obviously it's a longer set for starters, so they could pack some more songs in. They played a few more from the new album, like Alpha Omega. I don't think they played at the other shows.
No.
Idios as well. I think, like Alex said, I still don't really enjoy the album that much, but the songs are great live.
Yeah.
And they played a couple of oldies as well, which is nice.
So then we all went to go and see Holding Absence at O2 Academy in Oxford. This would be the 2nd time for both of you seeing them, because you saw it Slam Dunk, but the first time for me, because I was busy seeing While She Sleeps at the time. But part of me wishes there was no Clash from that Slam Dunk set, because this has stood out to me as one of my favourite gigs this year. And I have come away from seeing Holding Absence. I can't stop listening to their music. I have recommended them to so many people, and I think they've just thoroughly enjoyed it as well. They are a very, very special band, and I think that live scenario for them is incredible, and I think they could convert so many people to fans. It was just amazing.
I think the first thing you notice when you see Holding Absence live is that Lucas sounds just as good and just as impressive live as on recording.
Yeah. He was just incredible, but they all were going hard. I pray for Ashley Green's drum tech.
I hope he has drumhead sponsorship, like Remo Evans, someone, because I felt so sorry for the skins of those drums.
I'm pretty sure I saw him break a stick about halfway through.
Must
just
have.
threw
I'd be
it
surprised.
to the house, like mid.
I'd be surprised if he didn't. That solo as well was amazing.
He's in multiple bands as well. He was straight onto another tour after that Holding Absence one, so that kit's not getting a rest.
No. What a gig, and yeah, like I said, I think it stands out, at least to me, as one of the best that we've had this year. And then after that, you two were back at the O2 fairly soon after seeing Don Broco, weren't you?
That was just such a fun show. I wasn't sure going into it how different it'd be, because the last time we'd seen him was headlining Slam Dunk, which we were quite far back. We weren't really involved in the crowd much, but for this one, obviously being a smaller venue, the whole room was bouncing around, circling, doing push-ups. It's just such a fun time seeing Don Broco.
Yeah, I think every time I see them, I just am amazed by their energy. Rob literally did not stop jumping the entire time. And it's a shame you weren't there, James, because I think we didn't get close enough at Slam Dunk for them to win you over, and that gig would have won you over, because regardless of what you think of the lyrics on the new album or whatever, it all changes when you hear it live. And like chanting along like the lyrics to Gum Shield feels fun, like so much fun.
That's the thing. The lyrics aren't great, as we know, but I was singing every word.
Yes.
I think we need to talk about the end of Endorphins as well. Obviously, the riff is clearly based on Thug Workout, but I still didn't expect it to transition into Thug Workout in the end, and
fully went
the Push
all
Up
in.
Squad to have a little reunion.
Yeah, I pray for the people that put their hands on the O2 Academy floor, because fuck that.
Well, I mean, the last time I saw Don Broco at the O2 Academy, the toilet leaked and the gig got cancelled, so that floor has been covered in shit.
We'll leave it there. But then finally after that, we made the trip to Birmingham to the O2 Institute to go and see the incredible Sleep Token. And again, I think this stands out as a phenomenal gig. After seeing them for the first time at Heavy Music Awards and it being just captivating, which I think is just one of my favourite words to use to describe them anyway, seeing them in their own headline show was otherworldly. Like the emotion in the room was just incredible. You were drawn to watching the stage. The pits were fantastic. The ballads were fantastic. Opening with Atlantic and just having him on the piano, and then closing with just him doing Missing Limbs with the guitar. I think really bookended each end of the gig in a very unique way because you don't always get that.
I think them referring to their shows as rituals is spot on because it felt ritualistic. Like everything from the fact that no music, like you normally go to a gig and they just play like some shit like a playlist over the PA system, whereas it was just like ambient music the whole time after A.A. Williams' set right up to Sleep Token start, and I think that completely set the tone for what was to come, and you just get lost in it, don't you?
It was the set as well, absolutely fantastic, and I think it was perfectly balanced, and the crowd loved it, every second of it. You look at In Fall For Me and that Oh God, I Wish You Were Here, and just how loud everyone got shouting that. It was just such a strong feeling in the room, and it was just a feeling, I think.
Something I noticed watching some of the footage back, I didn't realise at the time, but the start of Atlantic, the whole crowd was just silent. No one was even singing along. Everyone was just mesmerised by Vessel on stage. A silhouette at that point because of the lighting, just playing piano on his own and singing before the rest of the band came out.
The thing is, a friend asked me about them the other day, and he asked me to kind of try and describe the gig. And the only thing I can weirdly compare it to is Slipknot, because the visuals, there's something visually when you see Slipknot which takes you aback and you're captivated and you watch 9 crazy people running around the stage doing all different things and you don't know where to look. And then visually watching Sleep Token, it's like a different thing, but you're still captivating watching, I think, trying to watch all the different band members. I'm trying to watch the guy behind the kit do some phenomenal things. The bassist interacting with the crowd was so much, guitarist just moving all around. Then you had the choir or the 3 backup singers behind as well. And then you're watching Vessel, which is kind of the way he moves around the stage. You're drawn to just watching it, and
It's theatrical.
it is. It's a whole different experience, and that's why it's the only thing I can compare them to visually is like that. It's 2 very distinct, different worlds, but they both have something about them that you're drawn to just watching, and it's very powerful.
I think that's something that people don't consider is because a lot of the all the music videos, a lot of the promotional pictures of them is just Vessel, and a lot of the focus is on Vessel when you think about writing and stuff. So when you see them live, I didn't think that the band members would feel it as much as he did, and I think we saw it at the Heavy Music Awards, and again here, the bassist especially is interacting so much and reacting to Vessel as well. And there was there was one moment where Vessel went over and hugged the guitarist towards the end of the set, and it was it felt like it all meant as much to the whole band as it did to all the fans as it does to Vessel.
I think it adds to it as well the fact that they're all masked. You don't see the facial expression or the emotion there, so their movements are more kind of animated, and you kind of take more from that, I guess.
But the other thing is we don't know that much about them still, and although there is that focus on Vessel, he might not be writing every single track solidly. He might just be doing lyrics. You don't know. Obviously, it's probably more than that, but they're all probably putting something of themselves into that music. So there is that focus on him, and like you said, with the music videos in particular, you see just him as the figure. But I think with that kind of music and the emotion behind it, they're probably all putting a bit of themselves into it, which I think just adds to it even more.
Back to James mentioned the actual set and the set list a minute ago. I didn't even realise that there were some big songs missing, some really popular Sleep Token songs missing. Bloodsport, for example, they didn't play, which I think Alex has only just realised as well.
Yeah, oh my God.
And my point there being, you don't even realise they were missing, because every song in the whole set is just so good that although some of your favourite songs might not have been played, you've still got something else.
And they've only released 2 albums of music. That's incredible. That you can have that position watching a live set and kind of, like you say, forgetting about like these songs not being in there, and you're still watching it and blown away by banger after banger of song, and the way everything flowed from one song to another again, just seamless. It was just, I think, one of the best shows we've been to this year.
That or this or that. That or this or that. That or this or that. That or this.
That or this time. I've gone easy this one. It's just sitcom themes. Which do you prefer? Because I want to get it out of the way.
There's a lot of scratches at the bottom of that barrel, isn't there?
Yeah. First up, Friends versus How I Met Your Mother.
I think it's got to be Friends, really, isn't it?
I don't like Friends,
Oh,
but the theme tune's good.
the thing is, you know that whenever it gets played and it gets to like the clap moment, everyone's just going to do it. And I think that's a pretty iconic kind of part of it. I mean, Dan won't because he doesn't like it. Everyone else apart from Dan is going to do it. And I think the How I Met Your Mother one is good, but the Friends, I think, is just a little bit more iconic.
Yeah, Friends. Then it's Fresh Prince versus The Big Bang Theory.
Fresh Prince.
I was wondering what you were gonna put up against the Fresh Prince, because it's an iconic theme, and the Big Bang Theory one is actually quite good. But it's the Fresh Prince.
Yeah, it's Fresh
Hands
Prince,
down.
isn't it? It's so much fun. Then we got Malcolm in the Middle versus Scrubs. I would go for Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah. I'm just trying to weigh it up. Yeah, I'll take you on that, Mark in the middle.
Yeah, Malcolm in the Middle, easy. No contest.
Then we've got a big one here. Simpsons versus Family Guy.
I'm going to go with Family Guy.
It's The Simpsons for me.
Alex, it's down to you.
Family Guy.
Nice.
Just more fun, I think. And last one. This is a big one. I think, Dan, you'll like this one. The Match of the Day theme or the F1 Grand Prix theme.
I love that these are all sitcoms. We've got
This is just
Match
pop
of the
too.
Day versus F1. Are we talking about like the new F1 theme?
No, like the... Dun,
Yeah,
dun, dun,
the
dun.
chain.
Yeah.
Yeah, F1.
Oh, no, Match of the Day.
Oh.
It's such a, like, serotonin boost hearing the Match of the Day theme.
But also, the brand new F1 theme is really good as well.
I'm more familiar with the Match of the Day one, so I'm going to go with that.
But then there's nothing more crushing than if your team has lost on Match of the Day, and then you're watching the end credits roll and the
Yeah, but
highlights.
then you're not even going to watch it, are you, if your team's lost? I don't, anyway.
Flip yours if you want.
I haven't watched Match of the Day in months.
Dan's a United fan. Match of the Day.
There you go then.
There we go. Only one more of this to go.
You can tell Alex's high energy effort onto
He's
that.
currently rocking backwards and forwards in his chair.
I hear that jingle in my sleep.
It haunts you.
This month's feature song is Scathanna Wept with Throne of Calamity. This is a solo atmospheric project from a really talented musician in South Africa.
I think this is definitely a track very much in your wheelhouse, Alex, with black metal. And it's usually one that I'd probably stay away from a bit more because I'm not the biggest fan of it. But I think two things really stood out to me, and that's solid instrumentals and great performance in the vocals. Like, everything was delivered really well. And then the production. I think part of my struggle that I've had with black metal has always been the mix has been so muddy. I don't think there's enough clarity. I don't think it sounds as polished as I think I'm used to in hearing other recordings. And I think that's just probably an issue that I have with the genre and why I can't get into it. But I think this was produced fantastically. I think it's got a great sound. I think it's refreshing to hear something in black metal produced this well. And the fact also that it's a solo project from one guy in South Africa, I think that's just something pretty amazing. And I think it's another example of, like, all these people across the world that we'd never usually interact with. And this has given us the chance to kind of find these people and try and spotlight it a little bit with what we can do and kind of give some exposure. I think it's just a great thing to be able to find all of this. So, what do you think?
I really like this song. There's elements of black and death metal laced throughout, and that influence has led to the creation of this really dark and like punishing atmosphere. I like a lot of other one-man black metal projects, and if you're listening, you're a fan of bands like Xatha and Leviathan, who create like really strong, dark feeling, you'll love this song. I can't recommend it enough. So here it is. It's so good to be back at gigs. It's crazy to think that when we started this podcast, we were all in separate places because of the bloody pandemic.
Grrr.
And listening back to one of the early episodes, actually, Dan said that we would normally be having these sort of conversations together on the way to gigs and after gigs and whatever. And it was something that we all missed.
Now we sit in silence so we can save it for the podcast.
Exactly.
And it just feels so good to be back. We've been going for a few months now. And how does it feel?
I think it's just so nice to be back at them, and we always used to have them probably about once a month. And I think whether it's now because we do some of this, but also maybe just coming back from the pandemic, there's just been such a great variety of shows that just going back to back to back. The amount of times we've had week after week, we're going to a different gig, we're going to a different city to go and see something.
Even within the same week.
Exactly.
Quite often.
Yeah, or even back to back days we've had multiple times. I think it's just really not taking any of this for granted again. And not that we ever did, maybe not. But I think especially having that time away because of the pandemic and this always kind of just being, I guess, some kind of structure that we always went to gigs. And now just really savouring every moment, seeing live music. And I still remember the feeling when walking into the Heavy Music Awards being the first thing I saw again. And seeing, I think it was Milk Teeth, who I've never listened to. And still just having the emotion hit me. I can still remember back to that in early September. And I don't want to forget that feeling because I think it just once again showed how much live music can mean to you. And I think it's just a great feeling to have.
Yeah, nothing quite prepared me for like feeling the kick drum in your chest again. Like it was nearly overwhelming, even just watching.
I think I teared up slightly when we had that, and I'm happy to admit that because it was very overwhelming.
I think it's highlighted for me, like Alex mentioned, feeling the kick drum. It's the little things that you don't think about. Of course, over the pretty much a year and a half that we didn't go to a gig, you think about I miss hearing a guitar. I miss like seeing my favourite bands. I miss being in a mosh pit. I miss singing along in a big group. But it's those small things like the feeling of a kick drum in your chest, the stickiness of a floor in a grotty underground venue. There's those little things that you don't think about that you realise when you return, I think.
All those little things just add up to making it such a great experience, I think. And then especially like we've got a lot more of like friends that are joining us on gigs now. You look back at the Slam Dunk vlog and there was like vlog? What the fuck is that? Jesus Christ. You look back at the Slam Dunk vlog and there's like 10 of us that go into that, all seeing different bands. The amount of like trips we've gone like to Birmingham for Sleep Token, the vlog coming out soon with that. We went up for the day and we went and did some shopping, and then some friends came and joined us later on in the day.
That's something I missed as well, just exploring a city before going to a gig.
And make it a special occasion.
When
When we have the opportunity.
That's been one of my downsides recently, was although we're going to loads of gigs and it's great, a lot of them I've had to like go straight from work to get to.
Yeah, and it ends up feeling like a bit of a rush.
Yeah.
And it's hard, but I'm still like trying to keep that mindset of we've got live music. We've got, especially with us, it's a lot of times.
It gets you through the day.
It does, and the amount of times, like in particular, like the Architects in Oxford one, I went straight from work after that, and the whole of my shift, I was just thinking, I'm seeing Architects tonight, and just getting hyped up. And it still ends up being just the highlights of the last few months in particular. I think it's just fantastic.
That's something I've been really grateful for, is like I've been surprised at how many hometown gigs we've been able to go to. Like I feel like the amount of Oxford gigs we would go to in a year, we've already done like in this span of time, because there's been so many and good bands as well. And like it's been really lucky that you can tell that bands are so desperate to tour that they're probably getting booked in like places like the O2 in Oxford where they wouldn't normally, and we get to benefit from it. Yeah, that's the thing as well, because we've been to so many in such a short period of time. Every gig has still felt important and unique, and there's never been an element of like fatigue or like everything has felt special in its own way, regardless of the fact that we're doing like back-to-backs or 2 in a week or whatever. Like not taking any of it for granted, really.
Is there anything like you're still wanting from gigs, or anything like different to come through from it. Because like a point for me is, we a while ago went to Paris for a gig just to go in a different kind of scenario. It was around my birthday as well, so make an event of it. And I think that's something I'm quite interested in again. Is we've done the UK so many times, and there are so many great bands that tour over here. And I think I look back at that time when we went to Paris, and it was such great fun. And again, it's a whole different scenario because we've never done anything like that before. And like in particular, we all looked at and talked about the Bring Me the Horizon in Malta, which I don't think we're going to have the time to go to as much as we'd all probably love to. And the lineup is incredible. But I think I've got a lot of, not attention maybe, but a bit of desire, I guess, to try and explore some of that again, because I think it was so much fun going to a whole different country, going and having, again, a completely different experience surrounding that, and then still going to see an amazing band.
Yeah, I think while there's still been some travel restrictions this year, so most of the bands we've seen have been domestic ones. They have been from the UK. There were a few overseas bands at Slam Dunk, but that was kind of a special one-off, really.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just waiting for next year, I think, where we're going to be able to see a lot more US bands, a lot more bands from overseas, particularly in festival season.
I would like to, go into those different places and experience a different fan culture as well. I think being in Paris, it's weird how the unspoken things about being in a crowd are still the same, picking people up and
Doesn't
help
change.
each other and stuff, but at the same time, the way that they chant along and sing along to the riffs sometimes instead of the vocals.
Yeah, that was interesting.
And also, like, at the start of 2020, we did a London weekend where we saw Slipknot and While She Sleeps back-to-back nights. Things like that were really fun.
Tell you what, any bands next year you hope you really want to see at gig? Like, in terms of the live experience that you may not have seen before, or that you just hope will tour off the back of something they've released recently and come over this way?
Code Orange. It was my favourite album of the year last year, and their album release was like pretty much dead at the start of like the lockdowns and stuff. And I know that they've been touring the US, but they've not come over since Underneath has come out. So that's the one. That's the one.
Dan?
I can't think of one that I'm like hoping to see, but I'm really looking forward to seeing Pup at 2000 Trees. Probably my favourite UK festival. One of my favourite bands that are like just the perfect fit for the vibe of 2000 Trees. So I can't wait for that.
I got two. I got Trivium. Saw them for the first time at Download 2019, and I'm desperate to see them headline their own show. And then the other one is Tala. I think
Tala,
Yeah.
that album was September, October 2019 that came out, I think it was. And then it's just become an album that I've listened to from start to finish so many times. And then Vanilla Paste came out this year. I love it. It's a great song. And seeing like their live shows as well, they just look chaotic and fun and so much energy. And I think just that in a live setting will be incredible.
So going from future to previous gigs, over the past few months since we've returned to gigs, what have been your favourite ones?
I won't rank them because we've got awards coming. I'll name a few. Sleeps at Underworld. That stands out to me. Very, very sweaty gig. But so much fun. Sleep Token, Holding Absence and Architects, I think, are like the big ones. And then, not really a gig, but Slam Dunk Festival. Because obviously it's slightly different. Just the whole experience was incredible.
I was going to say Slam Dunk as well. That felt the most special in terms of, because we only had, I mean, Dan, you went to a few gigs before we did, but we only had the Heavy Music Awards before that. So Slam Dunk was really like a proper return for us.
Yeah.
And the whole day was just magical.
It feels like that was the point when it was like, right, yeah, this is normal again.
We're back.
This is happening. We're back. Just the music, the whole festival atmosphere, the weather was perfect, and we had loads of friends there as well. So that was great. I think the Heavy Music Awards as well was just a really unique experience. To see Sleep Token for the first time, and to see like an award show, and loads of familiar faces from the world of alternative music appearing on the stage for awards.
It's definitely something I'd love to do again.
Oh, definitely.
I think after that is anytime there's more, I'd have to look into it, but I'm sure like Kerrang have awards, all these different like alternative media outlets are going to have these things like Revolver do their Golden Gods. I I'd love to find out when they are, because I think that was so fun. They always usually have performances as well. And it was, like you said, very different. Not something we've ever done before, but just a great time.
I really enjoyed Idles as well. It felt a bit odd because they didn't have a support, but their set was just so much fun.
Oh, I missed that one. If you've been to a gig in the past few months, let us know what your favourite one was in the comments below. For this month's album recommendations, we're going to recommend something that either we missed or we think the other boys missed, and we can finally get a chance to listen to it this year. Jay, what are you recommending?
So I'm going to recommend you both Blood Youth, Visions of Another Hell. October was a fucking busy month for music. So many releases came out, and it was hard, I think, for all of us to keep on top of it. And for me, this has gone into my album of the year contenders. Whether it makes it into my shortlist for top 3, I don't know. We'll find out. But I think from the singles we all heard that this year, we loved them. They're fantastic. I think the album from start to finish is great, and you hear a nice variety. And I think it really sends Kaya's reign as the lead vocalist. Like, it sends it off on a nice kind of story end setting, because he has incredible vocals throughout the album. It's amazing from start to finish, and yeah, I just definitely recommend you go back and check it out.
Dan, what would you like to recommend?
I've gone for Turnstile's Glow On.
He's stolen mine!
We somehow missed it and didn't review it. I went for a tattoo on release day, and Luke was playing this just over and over again. And you know how long those appointments can last. I was there for about 4 hours listening to just this Turnstile album, and I loved it. Hardcore has no right being this catchy, and it's just brilliant. Yeah,
I missed it as well, and 856 just posted the live footage of the album release show, and I saw just the first 10 minutes, and I was like, okay, I've got to go and listen to this album. But you've stolen mine. Should we just do 2 recommendations? Should I do another? Should I think of another one quickly?
I've got a backup if you want to take Turnstile.
What's your backup?
My backup is Thrice with Horizons East. Thrice are a band that I've heard a lot of our favourite bands talk about being a huge influence on them. And I'd never really listened to them until quite recently when they were announced as the headliners for 2000 Trees. So I've given them a bit of a listen, and I love them. They've got a new album out, and it's quite good.
Well, there we go. 3 lovely recommendations. James, have we got some news to talk about?
Yes, we do. So, as we kind of briefly mentioned at the beginning, we are now available for listening on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Yeah!
Woo! And you might be listening to us on that now. Who knows?
Hello.
Hello there if you are. You can download every episode so far that we've put out and listen to us on the go. So be sure to just hit a follow on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, where you can leave a lovely 5-star review because you're thoroughly enjoying listening to this. As well as usual, the like and comments on the video on YouTube and subscribing to the channel there. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, then please do head over to the YouTube channel as well still. You'll find other videos including vlogs, video essays, tier lists, all kinds of other things that I think if you're enjoying the podcast, you're going to enjoy our other content as well.
You can also now find us on TikTok at RAGAMUFFIN Music Podcast.
We might do some dances. You'll have to follow to find out.
No, we won't. We also have a lot of videos coming up soon, including a Sleep Token vlog, a While She Sleeps tier list, a beginner's guide for Beartooth, a tier list of every Christmas song, not every Christmas, a tier list of some of the best Christmas songs, and a new series with our friend Ruben coming soon.
Ooh, friend.
So just smash that fucking subscribe button. If you're on YouTube.
If not, follow and download all our podcasts on things.
And that's the end. And that's the end.
So that's how we're ending.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Comment something as well if you want.
Yeah, if you want.